Welcome to Tami's Soul Speak, featuring animal intuitive and medium Tami Hendricks, offering insight, spirituality, transformation, and clarity to every soul. Now, here's Tami.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday, the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. It's been a big week last week, wasn't it? And now as we are ushered into this next phase, end of the year, approaching in the holiday season, there is so much going on. And so I am always honored that you take time and stop what you're doing to enjoy a few moments on our show with the animals, who are always guiding and teaching and sharing. And it's always very, very organic. So very live. So I'm glad that you connect in this way. It's so important. And as you come into the room, I'm so glad to see you all. It feels like it's been forever. Kat, good to see you. It is chilly and sunny here in Asheville, super chilly. Even the bears are like, not coming out in this. And hi, Liz. Oh, hope you had a nice holiday too. It's always good to, collectively, because we all feel it in this Thanksgiving time and in the holiday, there's a pause, almost like when there's a snowfall and it's super quiet. You can feel that energetically, that we're all focused on family, we're all focused on gathering, we're all focused on being thankful, that hopefully extends in our lives going forward each day. Hi, Diane. It's good to have you here. Hi, Mary. Hi, Barb. Cold and a little snow in Canada. I bet it's pretty though. Hi, Cindy from Knoxville. Yeah, I would think you're sunny and chilly like we are too. And Jeff, chilly and sunny in Oregon. Happy Wednesday. Hi, Leslie. I'm glad you could hop on. And hello, Linda. And Roxy, good to see you. She said, "Oh, happy I made it. I didn't miss this time." And Pamela says, "Hello from Minnesota." And Grace Under Fire, chilly and sunny in Northern California as well. Wow, I think we've got the whole, I'm not hearing, and maybe I will. I don't know. Deborah in Georgia, is it cold? Or warmer than the rest of us are. Kenny from the UK. No, sorry, Carrie. It's good to see you. I'm so glad you could join us. It's funny when you're coming into the room like you are. It's you're lighting up like little light bulbs. It is so like I'm looking at it right now, and all of you are like blinking lights. It's wonderful. Your energy's great. And Jennifer, hello from New York, chilly, I bet. And Deborah from Minnesota. Deanna, good morning. And hey, Patricia, I'm glad you could come. And Heather, it's good to see you. It's cold in Georgia. Okay, I would think so, but warm hearts. Oh, I love that. I love that. It's interesting, the shows and their themes and how they all seem to come at the exact time when we all need to hear it. And this show is no different, because as we've moved into this space of end of year, going toward the new year, we're reflecting back on where we've been, and it's just natural. So I don't know if you all have also felt that as well, that I notice I'm naturally just reflecting on lots of different things, and I'm not intending as much as it just drops in and I'm noticing it. So I'm wondering if you guys are noticing that as well. Deanna says, "Bear's at my feet listening." Yes, he does need to listen. You tell him, take it all in. Roxy, you're so sweet. She said, you exude a beautiful and warm and calming energy, and your voice is quite soothing. Oh, I appreciate that. Hi, Susie. It's good to see you. All our voices carry energy, right? So, and words have meaning, and it's always good to remember that we're presenting energy when we speak, when we smile. I always thought with the masks for COVID, that really focused on our eyes so that we could smile at each other through our eyes. So yeah, all that's important. Katrin, it's really good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So, this afterlife piece of, how have you ever wondered if your animals reflect after they've passed? I know we all have probably heard of the life review that human spirits go through, and looking at the life they just lived, assessing things, reviewing their earthly journey. Do they gain perspective and on the growth that we had with them, the learning experiences they shared with us? It's an interesting concept. And Renee, if you would put up the graphic, always got to do some visuals for you. So in this graphic, you've got the guy who has passed, and he's looking back down on his life and the things that he paid attention to, the things that he was connected to. And, he was probably a business person doing, well with money, adept at that. And so there's this reflection piece. And of course, the cat is looking down on nature, really, on a little farm and life and what that meant. So I'm wondering for you all, have you been reflective? Have you noticed that in this particular time as we, head into the end of the year and the new year? And if so, what are you reflecting on? So if the animals can reflect, and they do, they share with me in any session, and they do reflect on the life they've had, what key moments would they recall? What key moments, what would they want us to know about the lessons they've learned, their purpose in our lives? What would they want us to know? But before we answer these questions, I'd like to talk about just a minute the concept of the afterlife. It's actually quite fascinating. So if I throw out the word afterlife to you, typically, would you say that the afterlife means an existence or a realm that follows death? Continuation of consciousness, spirit or soul in a different plane? Is that kind of like the essence of what, when you hear that word, you that's what you track with? Some of you are saying, yes, that's what I definitely have been reflecting. Yes. And especially with writing my book, I bet that stirs up a lot of memories, Leslie, and it's beautiful. Vicki says, absolutely. Kat says, a reunion of our higher self. So, on the last show, if you caught that, and if you haven't, you can always go to the replay. We talked about the in-between space, that preparatory transition space before an ending. In the preparation phase, there's a lot going on, a lot of movement, emotionally, physically, spiritually. If you think about preparing for a trip, that's pretty much what it's like, that goes on ahead of time. It's like preparing for a liftoff. So as I was thinking about the concept of afterlife, I was shown by Spirit that whatever event happens after, okay, so you have the in-between space before, then you have the event, and then now we're here in the afterlife space. The event itself, I was shown, serves as a bridge. Renee, if you put that next graphic up, it serves as a bridge that connects the world before and the world after. Think about that just a minute. They're not separate from one another. It's joined. So in other words, you're always going to have the before and then you'll have the after, but the connecting point is the actual event, whatever the event is. Whatever the experience or situation is, that's what joins the two. They go back and forth. So the interesting piece, and one that I don't think most people notice, is afterlife not only refers to life after death. Here's where it gets really interesting. It can also refer to the space after any ending or completion. So the afterlife review indicates an opportunity to reflect on where you've been, what you've learned. It's a space filled with wisdom and connecting pieces that you might have missed while you were experiencing. So that's why I'm asking now, if we use afterlife as, okay, well, how many events have we experienced this year, this week, today? We're on the other side of the event because the event happened, it's done, it's no longer happening maybe, or maybe it's happening in a different form. If we look back at these daily events, at these yearly events that we've experienced, would it be helpful to take a look and see, like, wonder why that came into my life? What did I learn from that? There's so much information just in our normal everyday life where we are, have moments, we stop, we start, so how many of you have experienced the afterlife review in this way, what I'm talking about? What is your tendency? Do you typically take time and reflect after something has ended? Curious. Or do you put it away and forget about it and move on? Or have you experienced both? And do you think it depends on the quality of the experience as to whether we kind of put it in a closet and I'll deal with you later. I don't want to think about it anymore. I don't want to look back. Thank you. Or, do we take a look at it with some curiosity? Roxy said the next chapter in the soul's journey. Susie says a different realm where they thank you. They wait to reconnect with us when it's our time to cross over. Love that. Kat says, I think it depends on the state of healing. Good point. I agree. Liz said she's experienced both. And Roxy says, I do both. Jeff says, I've become very reflective with a lot of events, never used to be that way. It's really a deeper dive into what we call life happening, right? Just event after event. We rush out, we have experiences. And Mary says, sometimes I reflect for a few days after the event. Mary, is it something you sit down and say, oh, I am going to reflect on this, or is it something that happens naturally? Katrin says, review to learn how to improve the situation, actions or reactions. It's super rich with information after any experience we have, after any relationship, after, any life experience. There's always more that comes. Vicki said a good, I don't know, game. I'm not sure I'm reading that correctly. And Susie says probably both. Depends on the amount of pain or feelings I experience. Probably in the time, the time frame. The afterlife review might go on for a long time. I know, it did for me when my parents passed, and, I would have thought I had done all that. And no, many years later, a lot of stuff cropped up again for me to look at that I hadn't processed. So, the afterlife review can go on quite some time as more and more pieces drop in. Catherine says, maybe it should simply be called the after. I like that. So, looking at your own life right now, what things have qualified for an afterlife review or an after review? I threw some things out in my head like divorce, children leaving home, job loss, death of an animal or a human. What are some other categories you can think of that would, qualify for, oh, I've had this big event and now I'm in this reflective mode? Patricia said, I've been in the life review since Maggie passed away. That really was a huge portal that you went through, Patricia, and continue to walk that path on. She changed your life while she was here, but also that passing was a distinct soul move on her part and yours. Lorraine says, I think the older I'm getting, the more I reflect. That's a thought. Do you think that when we're younger, we don't think about it as much? We just keep going. And maybe as we get older, we have more track that we've laid and we can look back. That's an interesting Interesting perspective. Jeff says divorce. I lost you. Where'd you go? There you go. Divorce, son leaving the state, and making big changes in my own life. Liz says moving, illness, and trauma. Kat says too many to count right now, Tami. Leslie, divorce. And Crystal, oh, I want my Herky back. He's been gone over a year. I miss him terribly. So devastated. He was my heart. He was a great dog. Hope I ever see him again. Well, Crystal, he is here with us. And this is definitely a really, really good show to be talking about these kinds of things. And hopefully that'll give you some insights, give you a little bit of looking into. Linda says retirement. Yeah, definitely. Would you say it takes courage to review life this way? I mean, collectively, we're in a time of the year as we finish up this year and head toward the new year, right? So we're naturally looking back. It's especially important now as what we don't process tends to follow us into the new year and beyond. Grace says, death of my animal companion, Gizmo, has made me reflect on what I have been focusing on. I like that. That's really beautiful. Has made me reflect on what I have been focusing on. You mean what has been important in your life, what you value most, what kind of focusing? So the world events are also causing a great amount of afterlife review, right? Forced focus, I call it. Sometimes it's too painful and too close to an event to do so. In those cases, the review happens later. Animals have told me that the afterlife review is part of the continuing journey for spirit and directly linked to our soul's growth. It's important not to skip over it because it's an integral part of the journey. In the review process, they say there are no regrets, just insights and clarity for a life lived. They say that humans can benefit greatly for this space, for their personal and spiritual growth while they are still in physical form. And Renee, if you put up that next slide. Animals don't have regrets. They are very clear with us when they pass and share from their perspective of the wisdom and the love of life. And, we're the ones that go through the regret stage or the guilt stage, and they are constantly working with us to remind us that we don't have to hang on to that. That's just a story that we have told ourselves, that they are so available and so ready to connect so that you have that certainty. The animals can teach us always to view things from a higher perspective. So if you could view the events, the situations, and life experience from a higher perspective all the time, would you want to? And do you find yourself doing so now? Maybe more so this year. Maybe you've had a lot of experiences. I know there's been certainly a lot of souls leaving the planet, and animals are amongst them. And this time of year, a lot of souls will leave. So don't, if you look around and you say, oh, so-and-so has passed or something, it is, how would I say it? The energy kicks up a little bit. It ramps up a little bit. It gets a higher frequency at this time of year. Easier for souls to ride out on it. Heather says, with the loss of Birdie, I feel I see her communicating through my Ollie and Georgie. I feel like it's afterlife. Yeah, definitely. So you're actually constantly in reflection. Interesting. Roxy says yes. And Susie said, I have never felt regret when one of my cats has passed. I just know it's their time to go. They live their life purpose just like humans. That's a beautiful piece of wisdom and well said. Jeff says, yes, I've been trying to do that. And Leslie says, I try all the time. It's like there's hidden treasure in each moment. There's so much information that's specific for us, and our animals are always sharing from that point. And so now I want to just throw out just some areas that an afterlife review includes and why these pieces are important. So Renee, if you would put up the first slide with that. So when I was pulling this together, it was coming so fast, I had to write it really quickly. So the shared growth, right? In the afterlife review, in the time with your animal companion, how have you grown together? This is something you can look at now if they're still with you or after they've passed. Did you learn patience, love, or responsibility? Did your animal companion learn trust or overcome fears? We all have shared growth. We have shared growth here on the show. So that is happening all the time. And the animals always point out to, thank you so much because I learned what a family really is, or thank you because now I know what motherhood is. And you were such a good mother. I've heard so many insights of what the animals were learning. And it's important that we look at that ourselves. What did we learn? What were we learning what was our animal calling us forward to do? Roxy said, is there a spiritual contract with every single animal we have? Yes, it's been my experience that is the case. I don't feel and have never experienced any coincidences in any being who crosses my path. And there's always a reciprocal giving with it. Renee, if you would put that back up. So spiritual contracts, I would say, come into our lives for a reason. So what do you think your soul contracts have been with your animal? I think I saw Catherine said unconditional love. Were there lessons or experiences you were meant to share? Have you tried to track that? Lorraine says, I lost my boy Tux quite unexpected on Monday. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I've been reflecting ever since on our relationship. He was totally a mommy's boy and it's consuming me. He is on my mind all the time. Well, it's so fresh and you're in this, it's almost, I would think it's a surreal space, right? Right after they pass. And it's the mind can't wrap itself around this body that's no longer here. So you're in a very powerfully rich space. And so, as we go through, hopefully these things will help you, in the show that we talk about. And you can think about what your shared growth was and what the spiritual contract was. So Renee, if you could put up the next one, I'd share with them. So, understanding behavior. So if we're looking back from spirit's perspective, how are misunderstandings viewed or behaviors that occurred in life? I mean, did your pet have anxiety or aggression as a result of past trauma? Were they able to move through that in their lifetime? I've had several that absolutely have been able to grow and move through and leave the story behind. And they change and they blossom into this independent, beautiful, beautiful being. And I've had Annie, for instance, she was a basset hound who came to me with her puppies and only one ended up surviving. And she was with me 3 years. She was so sweet, but she was so sad. She had a mother sadness that she couldn't quite shake in her lifetime. She was happy where she was, but she always carried that with her. So, we grow as far as we can in our lives. She reached for it and got as far as she could, but I could always feel that underneath the surface with her. So was she able to move it through it completely? No, but she made great strides. And, how did her behavior affect me, for instance? How did the behavior of your animal affect you? What emotions came to the surface to be aware of? That's part of our growth, is understanding from the behavior we're experiencing with them, what's it kicking up in us? How did your behavior affect them? Like, I've told you before that if I raised my voice at all, Murphy would have nothing to do with me. That was not what he was going to accept. And I was like, I got it. Were you able to move through and grow from the experiences yourself? Roxy says, I can't answer that now, but I'm writing this down. it'll be homework for tonight. What we're doing here is laying groundwork for you all to take this and embody it and think about it and apply it to your life and your animals. Vicky says she's been learning patience. And Marge, I'm glad you finally got in. We missed you. Heather says, I feel like I've learned so much with all of you. The constant communication with Tami and all of you really made me more of a communicative through my animals. It's a gift and I am blessed. But listen, this is a joint effort. We are all growing together and we're expanding each time we meet. So this is quite beautiful. So Renee, if you put up the next one, this is all part of the afterlife review if you're wanting to like reflect back. So how do the animals perceive the challenges they faced on Earth, such as illness, separation, adoption? Animals have a story to tell, and they just like with humans, we need to tell our stories. We need to be allowed to tell our perception of anything that happened to us and to have a compassionate witness, to listen to that. Because if we have that kind of setup, we can let that story go and grow forward using it as kind of a rocket fuel. So how do they perceive the challenges we're all facing on a global level where there's so much conflict in the world? They're all part of this too. How do they view their illness? I've had many tell me that it never, how do I explain, that their bodies went through what they went through for an illness, but it was more about the quality of the experience with their person and this intimate time they've had. And so they each have their different perspectives, just like we do, but we're all affected by it. And the animals aren't separate from that. No one is excluded. Jeff says, Daisy did that. If I raised my voice, she'd walk to the front door like, nope, I'm out. I hear it. Boy, it's a mirror, isn't it? It's like, oops, I didn't even realize I'd done that. Grace and Fire Gizmo did that too. My raised voice had him leaving the room to a quiet room in the house. Isn't it such a mirror? Best mirror ever. So Renee, if you'd put up that next one. How about this in the afterlife review? Do we look back to examine guilt, on our part? Do we blame ourselves for how things happened? Have you ever done that? Like decisions about end of life or not spending enough time? Ooh, this part is huge in the afterlife review. And animals consistently tell me there are no regrets or blame from their perspective. That's what humans do. And they work tirelessly in spirit to reassure their human companion to forgive themselves. That is unconditional love. And they continue to offer it. They extend that into spirit. Marge says, Isla was a puppy mill breeder, and she was so sad when I got her from the rescue. She didn't know how to play, how to walk. She became friends with Fergie, my cat, and Quackers, my duck. Too cute. I feel she was starting to be happy. That's so beautiful. So many of animals are suffering alongside humans. And when we see them, anybody really reach for a little bit of joy, it's quite beautiful. It brings it back in ourselves. Where have you felt regret or guilt in relationships? I'd love to see if you want to share. Where have you felt like you've made decisions that weren't the right ones, or you shoulda, coulda, woulda? Have you gone through that? Because animals certainly don't, but we do. And they're very patient with us to reassure us that don't be sad and don't regret. No regrets. Mary says, I have terrible regret over Casey's illness that we cannot pinpoint and therefore his early passing. Oh, Mary, I understand that one. And I would say this, that we see what is meant to be seen. And you can try to see something when it's really far away and you can't see it until it comes into focus. I haven't shared a story. I'll share that at some point, write about it, but I had that happen with me years ago. So I understand that not seeing it's almost like a veil is in front. And then once that veil moves, then you're super clear. But that's part of the soul's journey, the soul growth. That's part of your contract. And Heather said, I feel like it's never enough time. I wish they could live forever, but they do in our hearts. Yes, I was hearing something this morning about grief and how ultimately, we don't hopscotch over it. We all process it differently. And when we finally accept that connection and that love is what's left, in other words, the body's not here anymore, the daily interactions aren't here. And once we really get that piece is really still there, it's not just a concept. It's like, oh, they never left me. I left them because I was running off in the bushes with my story, but they've been here all the time. It's brings joy back to your heart. So Renee, if you put up the next one. So what about joyful memories? Animals are always sharing the joyful memories they have with their person. I know Onyx, the black lab, told me she was a dancer and she was a gymnast, and her person said, well, why didn't she like water? And what she told me was, all labs are supposed to like water. I knew how to swim. I like to do the moves though. And that was one of she had the perfect form. And so those were some of the most joyful memories. She was showing her joy when she was doing that. The animals refer to them as living memories, and they're conduits to healing. So in your afterlife review, what were the best times you shared? You can do that now with your animals. I used, to tell my animals all the time, when we did that, that was just so much fun. When you looked at me, I started laughing, or whatever it is that is a connecting point. How do those memories honor their life with you? Patricia said, I wish I could have done a couple of things differently, but no regrets. I see she was my she was my priority always, and I did my absolute best I knew for her. There's a book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. It's been out for a while. It's a Hay House book. It's beautiful, the five different regrets that people, this was a hospice nurse, and she would hear these themes that kept coming up with the people that she cared for. And, it was like, I wish I hadn't worked so much. I wish I had spent more time with my friends. I wish I'd allowed myself to be joyful. So no regrets if we can help it. And the animals certainly don't have them. They're just so grateful to have been with us and had this journey of a ride. So Renee, if you put up that other one, bond beyond physical life. So you'll hear me say it again and again. Once connected, always connected. Don't ever worry that you're not connected anymore. You may not be able to hear in the way you did or see in the way you did, but I promise you, your heart is connected with your animal 24/7. You can't stop it. The animals are constantly reminding us of that. Their connection continues. And while their form has changed, the love and the gifts they shared continues on, and those count for something. And that's one of the most cherished parts of the afterlife review, that confirmation of everlasting love. And when I do a session and the animals have passed, they are always bringing up things and sharing that they're still there and they're current in our lives. It's not over. Nothing is ever over. It just changes form. If you want to look at it like they're shapeshifters. Catherine says, anytime that involved gift bags, Bella was over the moon with joy as she wrestled with and in the large, colorful gift bags. Christmas was the best. I love that memory, and it feels super colorful. Gosh, I really like that. Thank you for sharing that. Heather says, love memories. Sunrises with my birdie, Ollie and Georgie. They're the sunshine in my sunrise every day. Love that. The connection is always there. Oh, that's beautiful. And Grace Under Fire, car rides with Gizmo, him sticking his head out the window, just enjoying the moments. Oh my gosh, we could all do that. Stick our heads out the window just to enjoy the moment. Um, Excited to be with me. Now, in his absence, he is teaching me to be more in the present and take in the moment. Oh, that's what a beautiful teaching. Wise, wise gizmo. Patty says, one of my rescues, Kaya, a pity mix, was so badly abused before that she was never able to trust other dogs or most people in her lifetime. I was her only person. We made many concessions for her to be comfortable and keep her separated from the others, but included at the same time. When she passed at 14, I laid on top of her and she passed through me. The feeling of overwhelming gratitude went through me. Ooh, ooh, it's amazing. And I can still feel it. That was her gift to me. That was the only passing that felt different, not sad. That is incredibly beautiful. I'm getting all over body chills. And just from reading that, I can feel all of us felt that gratitude. And they do have enormous gratitude. They're like, don't be sad. This is such a beautiful exchange that we have just shared. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Karmic cycles. Renee, if you put up that next one. You know, we talked about karmic paths on the show a few shows back. You know, we come together to learn and grow in certain areas. And animals in spirit often refer to cycles that are complete, a job well done. You know, you each have graduated. When they pass, we go through that portal with them. It's instant soul growth. Not the easiest, but it takes us to a different level. If you're to come back together at some point, and I know Katrin wrote in about that, each of you will have changed and have grown from this experience. Renee, if you would put that next one up. Will you reunite again? If there's a desire to continue growing together, you will encounter one another again. So, and Renee, if you put that next one up, a new phase has begun with more things to learn, new experiences. Sometimes this comes in the form of a new animal who has very similar characteristic as a previous pet. Katrin, are you listening? Yes. Soul blending. And each have a soul signature, and you won't be able to miss a spirit who's come back in form. Can't do it because you actually connected with their essence when they were in form. Even if it's just aspects or pieces of them you notice. You know, how will I know it's you if you do return within this lifetime? Is always a great question to ask while they're still with us. Like, give me the heads up. What's it going to be? You know, I need the deets ahead of time. But the soul blending is what you will often see the animals in our soul family, let's say. They come in and they keep blending and they have new experiences and new bodies. And it's amazing because, you know, life's about growth and it's not about just doing the same thing over and over again. And that's why, yeah, Katrin says, my cat Tasha and I truly understood each other. Her passing was a lesson in grace and letting go. Yes, I understand that piece. Diane says, this has been very powerful. I struggle because my senior dog is having a difficult time and I want to keep him as healthy as possible and happy. And by tuning in to him allows him to be included in the equation. Animals want to be included. And so that's such a beautiful piece that you're doing even in your struggle is to continue to work with him where he is. And Deanna says, sometimes I call Bear Dewey. There's so much of him in bears. That's soul blending. And, you know, once we understand like, oh, this is what that looks like, then we see it comes very quickly. And Renee, if you put up the next slide, the perspective on passing. How do animals view their own passing? Whether it was natural, due to illness or accident. I think that's one more. Oh, I probably passed over that one too. How do animals view, whether it was natural due to illness or accident, they can provide understanding from the spirit realm to help us heal from grief. And they often surprise us with their viewpoint. So with that, Renee, if you bring me back the animal's life purpose, because I do want to go on, thank you. What do animals feel was their purpose in their last lifetime? What was their soul path? They'll share wisdom from their broader perspective. This often dovetails with our own soul path. And it can be incredibly helpful to see these pieces together. And so messages for the living, Renee, if you would skip the slides to get to that, that would be great. Thank you. Many times animals share messages from the other side to help their human companion continue and grow forward. And, don't we all love that? It's not spirit on the demand, though. It's not just put a quarter in the psychic and ask for a message. The ones that have the most need step forward. And they step forward with insightful messages to help us. And they know we'll hear it from them. And the next one is the afterlife environment. How do animals perceive their current environment and spirit? I've had them show me that they were working with other, like puppies that were crossing over, and they were helping them, or they were helping family members, or helping elderly people who have passed. They continue with their healing. It gives us a glimpse into who they truly are and what they're up to, and how are they taking their understanding, their growth forward. And so what I want to do right now is activate and call in a higher frequency. It's going to allow you to see the hidden messages and the meanings that live within each circumstance and can be accessed at any point for deeper understanding of situations and experiences. It's what I do with clients every day as part of what I would term the soul speak process. I do it naturally, but it's like we weave energy pictures together. And so that's what we're going to do today. So I'd love for you to join me in what I would call the observation deck. And Renee, if you would just keep that up while I talk. You may want to grab pen and notebook, something to write with. So I want you to imagine that you're standing on a deck, high up off the ground. From there, you can see the landscape of your life, all the good things, as well as the challenging ones, the recent ones, and older events. Just take a look, see what pops up. There's probably a lot to look at. Even though there may be a lot of events and experiences you've wrapped up so far, you notice that each has different aspects. It's like individual puzzle pieces look different. Each has a purpose and a specific meaning just for you. Well, after all, it's your own life. It's got to have meaning for you. Some of those experiences feel more important than others, impactful, maybe more significant. So what stands out to you? What event, what moment stands out? Did you have any shared experience with an animal? What wants to come forward to be seen at this time? Is it something you still have questions about or don't completely understand? Let that event, experience, situation, challenge, whatever it is, step forward. And as you take a look at this event you'd like to understand more deeply, you suddenly realize that you notice you're not alone. Your wise higher self is beside you and can see from a more expanded perspective than you have ever been able to. If your memory includes an animal who came into your life but is left, feel and see that precious being there with you as well. You're all up on the deck together. So there's a special energy that's created here. It's an energy that allows you to see the interconnectedness of all life. So from this perspective, this vantage point, what questions would you want to ask of your higher self? What do you want to know? What do you want to know from your animal? Nothing is off limits from this higher vantage point of spirit. As you're looking back, as you're looking upon things, here are a few questions you might want to consider. What was your purpose in my life? Why did you come into my life or leave when you did? What was your soul path? What were some of your favorite memories? How did I help you grow? How did you help me grow? How do you view your passing? How did you view your life with me? Don't we all want to know that? What would you like me to know? What gifts did we give each other? What's your favorite memory of me? What did I teach you? What did you teach me? Why was it so important that we meet in this lifetime? And what's your soul signature? If it's a current situation that you'd like to know more about, consider these questions. What lesson am I learning through this experience? Why did this happen at this particular time in my life? What are my emotions around the situation showing me about myself? How am I changing because of this experience? Who am I becoming because of this experience? What am I supposed to see, the seeing of which will change everything? What new qualities do I see in myself? What's my takeaway from this experience? Your ability to reflect, whether after or while it's happening, is a life tool that can help put things in perspective. The afterlife review or any reflection upon something allows the deeper aspects to step forward and be seen. And when we can see something clearly, we understand it rather than judge. So do like the animals do. Put on your curiosity hat about all of life, because the very asking invites the answers. It's that simple. So I'm wondering, from doing this together, what came up for you? Because you can go back to this observation deck at any time and be joined by all spirits, all beings that have passed, all beings that are current. It's an opening and it's an energetic space. And it takes the frequency really high, which is where spirit is. I'd love to hear what came in for you, or what event you were looking at, or how you resonated with a particular question, or maybe one that popped up for you. Susie said a horse named Raven was about to be put down at the shelter, and I remember walking away from her, and I looked back and saw her watching me leave, but she didn't want me to leave. So, Susie, I'm wondering with this, what stands out in your sharing is I looked back and saw her watching me leave. So I would probably jump in there and say, what was that about? What was that experience about? What did it, how did it affect me? What was I to learn in that? There's rich information in every single experience that we have in our lives. Marge says, I see all of my animals I've ever had on the deck with me. Oh, it's like a party. It's a high vibe party. I mean, honestly, because we went into that space together. And so that energy is always there. You can always access it. Susie said, learning my true journey is to work with animals later in life. It helps me and the animal to experience love and compassion. Oh my gosh. And that's an ever renewing resource that we have, but oh, don't we need it in this world right now? And the animals are definitely on a mission to help humans experience more love, understand what compassion is. And so as you reflect back on your daily life and what happened this morning, there's information for you. There's information in every single circumstance. And, Renee, if you would put up, I've got a little rainbow bridge graphic, but I love this quote. The spirit of a being or of a genuine relationship is forever etched into the universe. That's by a spiritual teacher, Ajashanti. And I just think that's the most beautiful statement, like an all-encompassing statement of our relationship with an interconnectedness with life. And so as you look back on things in your life and with your animals, you can connect with them in a way and ask them, what is it that was important with them? What do they want you to remember most? You always have that access. Kat wrote in, them thinking about afterlife, the immediate things that came up for me were my experience with Wiley Cat, where she rescued him from a severely abusive situation, and he never overcame his nerves around children. She said, as a family, we respected his fears and never pushed him, but I always wonder if he loved the life I gave him. I know he loved me completely, but I always question whether he is happy with the family I brought him into. Absolutely. And we can present the best to anybody, and really how they receive it is up to them. And so we don't have control. But animals, they're good at receiving. They're good at taking that in. They're good at giving too. Wiley was very grateful that he had a soft place to rest. And I get a feeling it's in the heart, this heart sadness he had. His heart could start healing, like it was cushioned, like the hugs around the heart. So yes, you don't need to wonder. He was totally loving where he was and grateful to be noticed, he said. Karen says, I still have guilt over my rescue special needs cat, Randy, as I wasn't always patient with her. Oh, I understand that. And I think we can all relate to that piece. We're all learning patience. We're all growing forward, and maybe we stumble a little bit, but animals don't see it that way. And that's part of the soul contract. They come in to help us learn patience. And maybe we don't feel like we did such a great job. But from their perspective, they don't have any judgment toward whether we weren't patient the other day or not. They just are so much in the moment, they keep moving forward. And Heather says, Renee, if you get up the questions, we have a few minutes. We have some great questions. I see my mom and dad and every animal that I ever had on the deck. The deck is not a deck. It's a colorful rainbow bridge. Yep. I was thinking that too, as I was looking at the rainbow bridge graphic. It's the same energy field. Good catch. And I realize that their souls are all around me and they never have left me. It's uncontrollable cry, joyous, so beautiful, so beautiful. And Roxy says, I often wonder about the animals that show up for me that are sick, injured. I have either healed to healthy or literally will pass within a few hours or a short period of time after showing up. Is there external contact with wildlife? In my hands, is there external contract, okay, with wildlife or stranger animals? You're a conduit for healing, and the universe. We get our passengers coming through all the time, whether it's a person that we see on the road, an animal that we help. And so it's part of your soul path is to work with animals and let them be where they are and to help them grow in the best way they can, or if it's just for a short period, to experience love. Beautiful, beautiful gift. Jeff says, I see my grandpa and Daisy's entry in my life. Yes, that's beautiful. There's so many connecting threads. It's like the hidden puzzle, the hidden puzzle pieces that we all get together and do. Janet says, I look forward to experiencing Grace 2.0 in this lifetime. Yeah, you might be doing that, Janet, with Cynthia the squirrel. That's definite. Sent in special delivery by Grace, and has brought such a heart smile back to you and to us as well as you share those photos of sweet Cynthia. So let me try to get to just a couple of questions if I can. You had some great ones, photos and questions. So this is Stephanie. My precious dog Amy at age 16 passed over last Friday morning from a seizure. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. That's she'd been poorly, but doing well for her age. Looking back now, there were signs, but my daughter and I were busy trying to keep her going through our vet. I feel quite bad about that because I now realize she was weak and probably in pain, which hurts me. And I asked myself that I was wrong. In the end, we were comfortable with the fact that we didn't have to euthanize her. She passed on her own. She is so grateful for her life with you. She is, oh my goodness, that was happened as it was meant to happen. And she's saying that you both, everybody learned through this process. She's a perky little teacher, she says, and that she taught up until the very last breath. And animals will often wait to pass on their own. And so that's why with my animals, I'm always, you tell me what you want me to do. If I need to help her, a vet needs to step in. You've done nothing wrong, she says. You've done nothing wrong. She's very grateful. And she says she's feeling much better now. She's feeling much better. So she wants you to know she's not in any kind of pain. She's stretching again, she says. Once they start talking, it's like, okay, wait, I've got to translate that energy. So she's saying I don't know if you've hugged something of hers this week. There's a definite feel of you like gathering some of her things and holding them. So she wants you to know that she sees you doing that, and just so funny. They're so funny. She's like, stay tuned, Mom. Oh, I hope that helps. I'm sending so much love and support. This is Lorraine. I can't describe the pain in losing my boy Tux on Monday. Oh, I would love a message if it's not too soon to help calm my soul if possible. Oh my goodness. It's never too soon. They're always like right there. It's not like you have to wait a couple of weeks till they adjust. They pop out of their bodies and they're so high vibration, joyous. They always show me the image of a hummingbird, that high vibration. And so I get the sense with Tux, such a gentle, very gentle soul, like a wise, gentle soul. And he said he went through, quite the journey with you, and many, many experiences that he's had with you specifically, that you are now in the process of reflecting back in this afterlife review of life with Tux. And he says he will send more to you once you write them down. So apparently you're supposed to be keeping track of these memories that crop up. And yeah, there's this feeling of being very close to you. And I get a very soft energy with him. Very, very wise. And he's not going anywhere. He's still there, Mom, he says. And he says, you can feel him. So I'd love to hear more as you go through your process and your grief journey. And we are all sending so much love and support to you during this time. He loves you so much. And Renee, if we got a quick time, okay, this is Katrin. Hi, team. And convinced we had the same dog returning to our family over and over. Spot number 1 was my brother's dog when I was a child. Spot number 2 was our dog when my children were small. Then Kelly showed up in our lives soon after Spot's passing. And now Nala is my granddaughter's dog. They all have the same features, mannerisms, and loving spirit. Have you ever experienced this? What a great observation. It's that soul blending. And animals love when we can actually see it. I often see Spot 1 and 2 and Kelly and Nala. It's amazing and so heartwarming to feel them, him, her through the generations. Isn't that beautiful? That is so lovely because it's the soul family. It's like we're on a soul train together and we're going to keep doing this and we're going to keep popping in and popping out. I love that. And I love that it's funny because Nala is saying you need to write it out loud. You need to tell the story of all that. There's, the story of, and then start filling in the blanks. Beautiful, beautiful sharing. Well, we're at the end of our hour, and as usual, it just flies by, and I so love you being here. I so love what we learn, what the animals teach us, the energy that you bring to us, and what the animals do. Thank you, thank you. Let's always continue the conversation, and I think the next show is December 4th. No, I always have my dates wrong. I think it's December 13th. So I can't wait to see what animals are going to come up with as we head toward the new year. Let's all do it together. Thank you, and you have a great week.
You've been enjoying Tami's Soul Speak featuring animal intuitive and medium Tami Hendricks.